Hi there, this is Seth Van Orden from Nauvoo Games, here to show off the Reckoners and to try to give you an overview of how to play. Now, keep in mind all this is prototype material. Some things we don't even have good prototype materials, but I'll give you a brief overview. I'll give you a little bit of what to expect in the final product for things that might be different, and we'll go from there. Alright, so to set a little bit of the stage, this takes place in sort of a post-apocalyptic setting. This is based on a book by Brandon Sanderson called The Reckoners. In short, an event happened in history. A subsection of the population has received superpowers, but all those who receive superpowers turn evil. They're all called Epochs. We're a group called the Reckoners, normal people that are trying to hunt down these super individuals and bring them to justice. Now we are in New Chicago, which is used to be called Chicago, and the city has turned into steel. And the head epoch in this area is called Steelheart. There, I don't know if you can see that. His miniature here and his board. These are the different city districts that we're going to be moving across. And here's our player trays. We've got a 3-player game set up here. We've got Tia, we've got Megan, and Abraham. Those will be our 3 people we're going to be playing with today. We also have up there is a tray that keeps track of our money resources, equipment that we can buy, and the lives of the city. Now we win this game if we kill Steelheart. If we can kill Steelheart, we will win. But we've got a tracker up there that keeps track of the number of lives, innocent lives. If we lose, we let 40 innocent lives die, we lose. It's a cooperative game. We either all win or all lose together. Now I'm going to explain our turns first. So each of us has a player board, but each of us also has a miniature here. He has miniature there. And they're 3D printed, so they're not perfect here, but they're pretty good. We've got a lot of all-stars working on this game. The trays from Game Trays, art from Ian O'Toole and Miguel that does 7 Wonders. Anyways, we have a lot of great people here. These characters are going to be moving from city district to city district throughout the round. One thing that's unique about the Reckoners is we're all playing at the same time. So all the Reckoners will take their turn all at once, and then the Epochs will go. They'll take their turn, and then we'll take our turn again. So we'll alternate back and forth. When we play, we've got 6 dice here. Each of us have 6 dice. They're all going to be, so we have 3 white dice that are all going to be the same, and then we have 3 dice of our color that are all going to be unique, that are special to us. And each of these 6 sides here, one thing that's special on, so the Tia, who's purple, her purple side of the dice has a double symbol. She has single symbols on all the other sides. So she's good at purple side, which happens to be research. So she's really good at researching. Whereas Megan, she has red dice because she's red. She is good at killing enforcement. So her red side has a double symbol. So it's twice as good. All the white dice have 1 symbol each. So the way it's going to work is we're all going to roll our dice, and when we roll our dice, let's see if I can, we're going to have a couple of re-rolls here. So we're going to roll our dice, and we're going to keep a subsection of them. So maybe I keep this dice, and maybe I keep that dice. You have to keep at least 1 dice in each roll. Then I choose to re-roll the rest. Maybe I keep that one and that one. Keep as many as you want in each roll. The last roll, you have to keep all the remaining of the dice. Now keep in mind when you roll these dice and re-roll those dice, you don't have to keep pace. So Tia can wait to see what Megan re-rolls before she decides what to keep and what to re-roll. After everyone has made their 3 rolls, if they want to use all their rolls, then we're going to take turns using our dice. And once again, we can do this in any order we want. Megan can use all of her dice before Tia uses any of her dice. She's going to say, maybe I'll use this money. And the spot you grab it from and where you place doesn't matter. This just means I'm using these dice just to keep track of them. And as I use those dice, they do different actions. And I'm going to move around the board, do different things. But that's the basic gameplay. So you have 1 to 3 re-rolls, and then you'll have the chance to use your dice. After everyone has used their dice, then it's Epoch's turns, and then once they've gone, you'll be back to your turn. You'll have up to 3 re-rolls, and you get to use your dice again. All right, what are the different symbols? What can they do? So anytime you can use any side of your dice, doesn't matter what side, no, doesn't matter the number of symbols, any dice will allow you to move from one city district to any other city district. So there's no really sense of adjacency. So I can move from here, and there's only 4 city districts with 3 players, but with 4 players there'll be another city district. Each there's 1 plus the number of player city districts, so you can have up to 7 city districts. And I can move from one city district to any other city district by spending 1 dice. So it costs 1 dice to move anywhere. It doesn't matter what the symbol is. So I could use 2 dice in one area, then I could spend a dice to move somewhere else and use another 2 dice somewhere else. All right, another thing I can do with any dice, so these aren't going to be the final components, but we've got what we call barricades. These barricades can be placed in the city district, and as long as there's a barricade in the city district, no one can move in and out of that city district. But anyone can spend a dice to get rid of any barricade in any city district. Most of the time you'll need to be in that city district to do something. Barricades is the one exception, because you can't even move into that city district unless it's removed. All right, so any dice can either move or remove barricades. But we're going to go to the different symbols here. Let's start off with the money one. That's pretty easy. The $ here. So the $ allows me, it gives our group 1 money. So we have a board over here that keeps track of money, and also you can buy gear with it. We have a combined pool of money, and so each $ will move that value up by 1. Then we have this red symbol is enforcement. It looks like sort of like a police badge. So within the city there is a group, a police force called enforcement. They patrol the city, and they can be in your different city districts. And it takes 1 of those red symbols to get rid of 1 enforcement. So Megan has double on her red dice. So if she was in a city district, she could remove 2 of them if she used a double on her red dice. So 1 for 1. One of those symbols will remove 1 enforcement. We'll go over what they do later. Next you have blue. I'm going to introduce Epochs right now. So Epochs, so we've got this blue symbol here. This is what's called containment. I'm going to give you an example epoch or 2. So here is dig zone. So there's a couple of things I'm going to point out about dig zone. So in the top left corner over here, every epoch has a weakness. So you can, some epochs like dig zone, so he has a hit points of 6 damage. You could just do 6 damage to him and kill him without knowing his weakness. But he also has a research value of 4. That means if we spent 4 research on him, we'd discover his weakness, and his health would go from 6 to 2. He's now easier to kill. But let's take someone like Fortuity. Fortuity, he's got an infinite hit points, but if you do 3 points of research, it goes from infinite to 4. So he's impossible to kill by because of his powers. So he can actually see the future. If you can see, he's sort of dodging bullets here. So unless you find out his weakness, you're not going to be able to kill Fortuity at all. But once you've researched him, his value goes down to 4. So dig zone, it might make it easier to kill him, but you could kill him without knowing his weakness. Now, if I'd say I did 1 point of damage, brought him down to 5, and then researched him, it'd still only go down to 2. So it's important clarification. Now, I'm going to go over this more in detail later, but we have rewards here if you kill the epoch. And this down here is sort of his power track. These are our epic actions. And on the boards, on these city districts, we're going to have this little slider here. It's going to slide up and down. And you can think of this as 1/2 of a bracket, and this is sort of the other half of a bracket. If the bracket was here when it's Epoch's turn, he performs both these epic actions. If it's here, it's going to perform these 4 epic actions. So when you contain an epic, this slider moves down this way. You can only max contain them down to 1 single action, but this will slide up and down each turn. This is going to grow. It can never go past this symbol, but each time it's supposed to move and it can't go past this symbol, it does this symbol that many times, the epic action multiple times. So if it was here and was supposed to move up 3, it'd go 1, and then it would do that epic action twice. All right, so that's what this different actually. So these tracks are sometimes different lengths. Sometimes they're shorter. Sometimes they're longer. But that's your general gist of what an epic is. Now we're going to take a look at this board here. So this is a city district that T is at, and if we see Death Point has a research value of 2. These are going to have a better fit when we have the final products, and he has a hit point starting value of 6. And if he was ever researched, his value would go down to 4. And if you ever get this value down to 0, you're going to kill him. So we did the contain. Contain lowers this value, makes him less powerful. But there's also research. So she is good at research. T is. So she used one of her double research. This would take this down to 0, which would have moved him down to 4 hit points, easier to kill. Or you've got the green symbol, and that does damage to epics. Each one of those will do 1 damage per green symbol. When you kill an epic, you also have a reward that's in that top right corner. And you'll keep in track of that. They can give you money, plan, other containment, remove enforcement, and so forth. Right, the last side of the die we have not gone over is plan. It's this little sort of football symbol looking thing. So this symbol is plan. It's kind of like a wild, except for when you spend it, you'll get one of these tokens. These are obviously not final tokens. There'll be chips and they'll be screen printed on them, and anyways, they'll look a lot nicer in the end. But so these plan tokens, you're going to put sort of in your tray. So you have a spot there for plan tokens. Those are wilds that are going to be spent at any time to be one single symbol that you can use, except for the ones you get this turn, you actually set off here, and you don't get to add them to your tray until the end of the turn. So any plans you get this turn, they're wilds, but they can't be used until future turns. So it's like, in essence, I need to have my plan in place before it's useful, right? So you have to take time to plan to have whatever you want in the future. So that's the last side of the die. So just as a quick recap, we've got money, which will give you a money symbol. We've got a shield here that gets rid of enforcement. We've got containment, which moves that blue bracket down 1. We've got plan, which will be a wild for future turns. We've got the green skull, that's 1 damage. And we've got research, which research is epic to try to find their weakness. Now, Steelheart himself, bring over his tray. Steelheart is going to be, he has a miniature too that he's going to be moving around the city. Steelheart. He's also has, depends on the number of players, but he might have, in this case, he would have 30 research to start with. And he's also going to have 30 damage once you've researched him. We'll remove this and add in one of these guys. Now 30 damage. That may change based on the difficulty level. He also has 4 power tracks, and these things, by the way, will come out. And you'll have different ones for different difficulty levels and different player counts. So he's got these 4 tracks, and he can move around. He'll move around the board. So you can always contain him just like you do any other epic. By knocking these values down, these will move up just like any other epic. And you also can research him. You can directly research him, but in general I wouldn't recommend just focusing on him, because everything else in the city is going to go wrong if you do. But if you notice here, with Fortuity, he has some bonuses here. For example, he has a research value of 3. So when you kill Fortuity, that applies 3 research to Steelheart. So one way to help discover Steelheart's weakness is by killing the epics under him. Will help you learn a little bit more about him. Also, Fortuity would also give you 3 plan to use to give as you do whatever characters you want, so that you can do use those on future turns. Or another one, maybe an example, we've got Dazzle here. He'll give you 2 research, plus it'll give you 2 money. So each character has a different, or each epic will give you different bonuses that you'll be able to use. All right, let's talk about gear. So I'm going to bring over this track here. So there's a couple of things to note here. We got the money track. You can collect money for the group. You've also got your number of lives. We start off with 40. If you ever go down to 0, you lose. We've got here some different gear that you can buy. It's in the top right corner. They have different money values. As soon as you buy a piece of gear, which is after your turn, you're immediately going to flip over the next card, and you'll immediately have a chance to buy that. You also can spend 1 money to swipe those 4 cards and to see what the next 4 cards are. They can give you a variety of things, like the tensors, for example, will give your person an extra green dice. And this will be a permanent dice that you'll be able to use, even though there's only 6 spots on the board. You can just set it up there when you've used it. You also have things like disguise, which will allow you to do a contain once each round. You've got imager right here. It's gonna, if you pay once a round, you'll be able to pay a purple to get 3 plans. This hail thing, which I'm going to explain in a little bit, but Epochs can cause this token to move down this sort of mountain-like thing. Every time it does a loop, once it gets down here and moves 1 more, the bad guys discover one of your bases, and you're going to have to, someone's going to have to fork over one of their dice. So they can take some of your dice and you'll just store them down here. During your buy phase, at any point someone can spend 2 money to buy those dice back. But that's one way that you can be affected by the Epochs. Now, I'm going to go over maybe a few other examples of different equipment cards. So we have Flash Grenade. This will turn any containment on your white dice, your normal dice, to be doubles. You can add a purple dice. This one, Grenade Launcher, will allow you to do 2 green damage to any spot, so you don't have to even be in the spot. This one will be double your plan on your white dice, turn 1 money into 3 research. And so here's a couple of this one. Motorcycle would give you free movement. So there's a variety of different items that do different things. Got something like the trap, which will change your plans and attacks and vice versa. So a variety of different items that you can use and get. So one other thing to note about your character, so each character that makes them special. So each character has a set of dice, 3 of which are unique, that match their color, that are a bit on one side, but also each character has a player power. So each of the 6 reckoners each have a player power that gives them a unique power. I'll go over those now. So Abraham is faithful. He gets to use this once a turn, which allows him to do an extra reroll. So instead of really 3 rerolls, he has a 4th reroll. We have Improvise. This is for David. He allows him to change any one of his dice. So you could even change one of his dice to his special sides. Alright, we've got Tia. She is allowed to give another player, another reckoner, a plan token that can be used this turn. So basically she can give a sort of wild side to someone else. Someone else needs, oh, I need to do 1 more damage to kill this epic. Tia, can you help me out? She can help that out. We've got Megan. She can turn 1 blue symbol once around into 3 green symbols. Or we've got Cody here, which he has a token that looks like this. Target here. He allows add that to another district, and he can use his dice as if he was in that district. So it allows him to use dice in basically the district he's in, and also another district. He's a sniper. We've got Prof is able to change 1 green symbol into 3 red symbols. Those are your 6 player powers. Alright, let me go over some of these epic powers, or epic actions here. So one of the most common ones are these little guys with lightning bolts in them. So right now this one would kill each one of these that performs. If it was here, you would lose 4 innocent lives, because it would do 2 here and 2 there. If this was here, you'd only lose 2 of them. Now another really common symbol is those little star guys with a couple different symbols. Each epic's power track here goes up by 1 plus the number of enforcement each round. So that's the only thing enforcement do, by the way. Enforcement increase the rate at which the epic receives power. So if you have a bunch of enforcement, that'll drastically increase the rate at which they grow. But Steelheart, on the other hand, he doesn't move up normally. The only way he moves up is from the powers of other people. So if you saw those symbols we've got these 4 power tracks here, and each one of the time that power track activates, it raises Steelheart's powers. So for example, if we go back to a firefight here, he's got a red star there and a yellow star there. So if he was, if his action bracket was right here, he would make Steelheart's red bracket go up by 1 and yellow bracket by 1, and he would kill 2 people. Let me give you a few other examples here. Say we've got Wormhole here, and I'm going to put his bracket right there. He would first perform and bring up Steelheart's black bracket by 1. This is our heal symbol. This actually brings up the research value and the health value of an epic by 1 each, unless it's infinite or 0. But this, if you see, it has 2 arrows to the side. That actually applies to both your neighbors. So if you see here, the 4 city districts happens to be in some sort of circle configuration, but you might have it in 2 rows depending on the table space that you have here. But you do need to know that if Wormhole was here per se, that he affects this neighbor and this neighbor. Or if he was here, he would do this neighbor and this neighbor. So you always sort of have this clockwise touching of neighbors. That third epic action adds an enforcement to his current spot, and the last 2 ones, as talked about before, kill civilians. Remember, this last action is never passed by this, but each time this is supposed to move up, it will do that action multiple times. So let's say I was here and I was on a spot that had 2 enforcements. When Wormhole takes his turn, he's going to perform those 4 actions, and because he has 2 enforcement, this is going to go up 3 spots. 1 plus the number of enforcements, so to go up 1 spot, then it's going to perform this red one twice. Enforcements stick around even after an epic's killed, so you need to make sure you take care of enforcement, or the rate at which epic's power grows is going to go faster and faster. So you'll need to keep your enforcement at bay. A couple other symbols that I might mention here. So this is a similar one. Conflux can help his neighbors. He adds enforcement to the neighbors and kills single people, and does the red symbol. Steelheart's red symbol. So we haven't gone over this symbol yet. That symbol is what we showed how you can lose a dice. So if you see on this track here, that symbol is there. For each one of those symbols that's performed, this moves down. So essentially every 5 times you hit that symbol, one of the reckoners has to lose a dice. So I think I've gone over most of the epic actions. I think the only one I have not gone over is this last one here, and this explanation here. So as I mentioned before, Steelheart's going to do all of his different actions. Like he would, if it was here, he'd kill 3 people. He would be 2 steps closer to discovering one of the Reckoner's bases and making him lose some dice. This one's probably the trickiest one here. So this, you see this 3 by 3. Right now, basically you count up this total. So you've got 3, 4 enforcement he's going to place, and he's going to place them in groups of 3. Whereas if it was here, he would have 6 and he'd place them in groups of 3. So whatever spot he's on, he's going to place a set of 3, then he's going to the next spot and add another set of 3, or in this case it would be 3 and 2. Depending on the player count, they might be more or less. So let's say I was playing, and the difficulty level. So let's say I was playing on hard and a 5-player game. This would be, I'd put 9 enforcement, or 10 enforcement if it was here, or 11 or 12 enforcement, and I would place them in groups of 3. These down here are barricades. So he would place 1 barricade in his current spot, 1 barricade in the next clockwise spot, the next one after that. Barricades, once again, prevent movement between districts unless someone spends a die to get rid of them. Alright, so that is the Reckoners. So you'll take a turn, then all the epics will take a turn, you'll take a turn, all the epics will take a turn, until either Steelheart is dead, or you lose 40 lives, innocent lives. And then you can always raise, there's multiple difficulty levels you can play at. Yeah, there's the game for you.